coming up in this week's episode. Okay, let me ask you something. What is it that I'm going to say that's going to make this better, do you think? Welcome to The Liberation Effect with me, your host, Helen Villas. Hello everyone and welcome back to The Liberation Effect. Today I am joined by Evie, who got in touch to get some clarity around her mother's behaviour, but particularly around how a betrayal from a friend could have caused huge amounts of flashbacks and unleashing of trauma and emotions that she wasn't really aware was there, where around her mother's abuse and behaviour towards her. Evie, is that a fairly comprehensive summary? Does that explain enough?
Hi, Helen.
Why you're
It
here?
does. Thank you. That does.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. So, what is it that you are looking for to get from our time together today and leave here with today?
Help understanding how to navigate how there may be a connection between mother's covert narcissistic abuse to how the betrayal of a best friend can trigger suppressed trauma that's linked to nightmares and flashbacks and insomnia, etc.
Okay. So why don't you give me a bit of context? What happened? What in terms of, it sounds like there was something fairly significant and then it's released all this other stuff. So would you mind giving me some background?
So I lost my identity, had to cut off a 21-year friendship due to, I would consider, a betrayal of trust and disloyalty. So due to relying on two specific friends as a crutch, I feel I lost who I was, and I've just been on a wagon wheel survival mode ever since I've been with mum, because I was adopted at 7 months.
Right.
So growing up, I've just endured her abuse. Dad died at 15. He was not narcissistic.
Okay.
But I've only, realised in my mid-30s, especially with an autism diagnoses, that actually, I have suffered narcissistic abuse from mother, not just from an ex.
Right.
And identifying that past relationships with a lover was because I was a codependent, I had low self-worth, and I just clung on to relationships with men, well, 2 men, and one of my best friends was narcissistic, but the one that's created the trauma alongside the narcissistic overt friend, my close best friend wasn't narcissistic whatsoever, but she has caused the nightmares, the insomnia, and it's just made me lose who I am and my identity.
Okay. So it sounds like it's been really confusing. Do you mind, you said when you talked about the betrayal, you phrased it as what I consider a betrayal, which sounds like there might be disagreement over whether or not it was, and you're doubting your own perception. Is that correct?
Doubting the betrayal of my friend?
The way you phrased it said,
yeah,
how I perceive it, or what I consider, sorry.
Well, it was a disloyalty. It was a betrayal due to her jealousy over my reconnection with my old friends and just using this other person to rub salt in the wounds. So this other person had been narcissistic prior, and I had to cut her off, if you will.
Right.
Whilst awakening and understanding everything, my whole life makes sense. But the history of what mother's done, it's brought all the nightmares ahead to a head. The flashbacks, having to discuss in the autism assessment, memories of what mum did, and then having to address that emotion that has been suppressed from being 15. So all those years, all this suppressed trauma, all these things she's done are now coming to the surface due to me losing that family connection, which my 2 best friends were my family, because my other best friend moved to Jersey. And to lose
Mm.
that family setup, I
Mm-hmm.
then lost my identity. And it's,
Okay.
I just, there must be a correlation or a connection to why now all of the flashbacks and memories are coming up in my dreams, and just
Mm.
I'm understanding everything a lot more.
And you're wanting to understand it even more.
But there's also the scenario from the past, what mum's done,
Mm-hmm.
and she's also doing the same in the present. So she's not changed. And there have been two most recent incidents that have occurred, which have made me just totally think that, as far as I'm concerned, I've grieved my mum. We
Mm.
don't have a relationship. It's very surface. She's dismissed when I've tried to open up to her, saying, "Oh, I don't
Mm.
want this. I just wanted to catch up and have a laugh." She's never emotionally been there for me, mentally, emotionally. She isn't emotionally aware or intelligent to care or have empathy or consideration or compassion.
Mm.
And I've been like the mother. And you and I approach her and say, "Well, you're the mother." She storms off like a nonchalant child and ignores me. And
Mm.
everything has to be not addressed or dismissed. Or she comes at me with expressions of, "Well, do you remember when you did this when I was 15 or 16 or 18?" You know,
Mm.
certain things I do want to bring up, what she has done in the past that have come to the surface, because I've
Mm.
recently brought it to her attention, and she said that she has no recollection of it.
Okay. Good old
But
chestnut.
I honestly think, well, I am 60-40 with it, because I know that they can gaslight you. However, she is 74, but you can remember things from before that year.
Mm. Mm.
How can you not
Evie,
remember calling the police and having a police van show up?
right. So it sounds like this thing has happened with the friends, and as a result, you're now having all these kind of, well, I was going to say accessing memories, but they're all, it sounds like they're literally flooding you. But then on top of that, where you're trying to confront your mother about things that have happened or she's done, she's either dismissed, sweep it under the carpet, or saying, "I don't remember at all." And so therefore gets shut down. Is that
Correct. That's
correct?
right. She
And
doesn't want
so
to talk
what,
about it because she's 74 and she's not got long left in her life. She doesn't want the
that's an
negativity, however.
amazing excuse. Sorry,
And
I'm
you love
just
that.
listening like, wow. I don't want to talk about it because I haven't got very long left in my life. So therefore, I'm not going to do anything to make you feel better about our relationship. I'm just going to pretend like you're doing something terrible by even asking me, on the grounds that I'm going to die soon. Right. Although 74 isn't that old these days, is it? 74 isn't
She's not an
really.
old 74, no. No.
Right, right. So, okay. So, would you mind just sharing, if you can, without it being too revealing, what happened with you and these friends?
Oh, so the best friend who I was really close with met someone. So she was just fixated on the relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
I then just reconnected with old friends. I'd got new friends, and she then became resentful, made comments. And then the girl that was over narcissistic had betrayed her previously. They hadn't spoken for 6 years. I'd reconnected them, and then the narcissistic same friend started to do things to me because she was envious of how close me and the other girl was due to them not speaking,
Right, right,
which had no correlation to me, why they didn't speak.
right.
She's done everything she could, but because I had connected with these older friends and new friends, because she was, well, the non-narc best friend, got resentful. And when I've tried to highlight how this other person has been behaving in the past and the present,
Mm-hmm.
there was no acknowledgement. She tried to minimize and dismiss and
Mm-hmm.
devalue it, and tried to say, oh, and relayed to me what this person had said. oh, she said, you're bringing things up from the past. Didn't want to go into it because at this point she was already being disloyal and not wanting to have my back due to her own insecurities and resentment over me being with my other friends. That's exactly it. That's it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
other
And
things
was
as
there a
well.
big blow up, or was it sort of a long fallout kind of thing?
No, so it was other things that she was and was not doing. She did other things, and I just replied. It was on a text actually, when she sent me a picture, and I responded. And then ever since then, I've tried to see her, and she wanted to try and do it on a phone call after a 12-hour shift at 10 p.m. at night. And I said, I won't put myself through that. I want to come and see you. And she just kept delaying it, and just the reciprocation of that part was not given back. So then I've ended
Okay.
up speaking to her all via, communication, not verbally, all on text or whichever.
Right.
And then we haven't seen each other for a year and a half, and we haven't spoken on the text since May 2024. But the other friend
Right.
who was, who interjected in it all, and they're all not talking now. They all are not talking.
So it sounds like there's some fairly major toxicity going on. Full
Yeah.
stop. When with this friend, the non-narcissistic one, was there a point? It sounds like she was making sort of passive aggressive comments and felt like you were being attacked
She was
quite a lot.
she was excluding me on purpose. So one of our other friends, who was an outsider, had no clue that I wasn't being invited to certain meals. I said, "Oh, Evie, are you coming to the meal?" I said, "I wasn't invited. I didn't know you were." Even though I'd been trying to arrange with her to
Wow.
meet her, but I delayed meeting her myself so as the other two, well, my best friend and a sister, could join as well. And they all knew this. Yeah, just
That
trying to
sounds like
remember
you were
what you
being
asked me, sorry.
triangulated.
Yeah,
Well,
and
it's
the other
just
person, sorry, the overt narcissist, the toxic one, the mainly toxic person who's had a horrendous upbringing, has also been doing the exclusions ever since I got them back friends.
right. So this all sounds really high school. Do you know what I mean? Like it sounds
And they're
really
older than I am.
mean girl.
They're not young. They're not in the 20s. They're in the 40 and 45. They're not young.
Right.
Mm.
And so this all happened, and then you started getting flashbacks. Is that right? And
I
nightmares
started to
and
get. I started to go into, yes, correct, nightmares, flashbacks, trauma, insomnia, crying. Went to a deep depression. Not been sleeping. Just lost all interest in seeing my other friends and doing anything, and just went into a really dark place. And understood that I actually was codependent, in a sense, that the reason I was still friends with this other person who was the overt narcissist is because I've been attached to her since I was 18, same as the other
right.
person. So,
Oh, that old longevity, it keeps us in relationships, doesn't it? We've known them for that long, so we shouldn't give up on the relationship. And yet, how long has the relationship been serving you? Or has it
well,
not? You know,
my 30th, she totally let me down, and then only admitted fault in her own way 5 years later. Still with no apology,
right.
but admitted that it was, kind of blamed it on the boyfriend, and in a roundabout way admitted, she could have done better, but didn't say that. So,
Okay. And then now you're stuck with this kind of behavior seems to have released all this like latest culmination of events seems to have released memories and flashbacks and things, and you're struggling to understand. I'm intrigued actually, because what I'm not hearing you talk about is the emotional impact of it. But there's a very typical experience for the autistic brain, which is to problem solve. You know, the autistic brain is amazing at finding patterns usually and understanding why something is the way it is. And that can make therapy really difficult for people who are autistic if the therapist isn't aware and skilled at helping move from the kind of intellectual space into the emotional space. And I'm potentially wondering, your question at the beginning was about understanding the connection between the betrayal and the release of all the memories and having these flashbacks and things.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if you have noticed how it makes you feel much.
Just lost my sense of self. I know that I am hyper independent.
That's a description. Those are, I'm
Is it
going to
really?
be.
So the fear of abandonment from others now. So I've lost trust in
Okay.
people after the narcissistic friend's abuse and allowing it for so long, which now I would never allow that to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Nor would I enter into a sort of friendship that to how she is and who she is. And you know, just the betrayal. I've just.
How does it make you feel? If I ask you a feeling, when you think about the betrayal, how does it feel in your body?
Just lost who I am.
I'm going to ask you. Let's go to it's. Do you struggle to connect to emotion? Is this something that you find difficult?
No, I don't. Honestly, don't know. I'm so connected to emotions that at the moment I'm numb. No, I'm so numb, and now I'm disconnected because I've gone through it for so long and had to manage it all myself. That I've internalized it all, and now I'm just trying to understand how to mesh it all together in the sense of understanding what's happening and how to manage it and why it's happening and why I've tolerated the narcissistic abuse with the friend for so long. Well, I know why, because I hadn't understood mum's abuse as much. I'd only understood mum's abuse in my mid-30s. I only understood my autism in my mid-30s. And I've only started to speak my truth, open my throat chakra, instill boundaries, talk my, not allow things to continue, and try and approach things in ways where let's have an open discussion, let's try and resolve this and be honest and open with each other. But a narcissist sees it as an attack, which the other girl does, and the other person also sees it as she's quite reactive and defensive.
Right.
I haven't been able to have that open conversation with both of them like I haven't with my mum.
Ah, so there's a familiarity between the two, a similarity. Okay.
Yes.
So
a block.
Okay. You said, when I asked you about accessing emotions, you said, no, normally it's fine, but in this instance, you're numb.
I'm numb, I'm still upset, I'm holding it all in. Because it hasn't been addressed, it hasn't been discussed.
Okay.
So because it hasn't been discussed or addressed, I'm having to look at other ways of journaling, which I've only done this weekend.
Okay.
I've spoken to someone before, but they weren't professionally trained like yourself. And I've always wanted to speak to you, and I've always used to mention you to them on the consultations. And Helen says this, and this is the terminology, and this is what, and I'm learning so much more. I said I've learned so much more from Helen Villiers. And all her Instagram shorts, I've actually cried at all your Instagram shorts whilst feeding my cats. And I got more clarification from you on shorts on your Instagram and your posts. But all these shorts I was putting on repeat. I was reading through, and I actually gained healing from that than I have from anyone else.
Okay.
So.
And why do you think that is?
because you're highlighting how a covert narcissist person behaves, how an overt narcissist is. You're highlighting how that can make you feel. There's terminologies. You're
Mm.
explaining the terminologies to what they are, which I've already understood
Mm-hmm.
anyway through a narcissistic
Yeah.
covert relationship that I had for 5 years with a man,
Right. Okay.
not realizing actually, oh my gosh, this is my mother. So whilst I was
Right.
studying for 10 years, the narcissistic
Right.
ex, and I've been single since 2014, and I've done so much healing and I'm a totally different person,
Mm.
I've actually only clicked in my mid-30s and had an epiphany and cried that my mother is an overt narcissist.
Okay. When you talk about all these different experiences of all these different abuses, what do you feel?
Let down, betrayed, hurt, abandoned, not considered, disregarded, dismissed. Like I'm on my own again, having to tackle emotions. It's more like I've been there and I was your best friend and you used to tell everyone and you said I was your bestest friend. I was loyal. I had your back. I was there for you when this happened. Yet you can't even acknowledge or speak to me as a best friend over what this
Mm.
person who's our friend has done because you're so fixed on thinking of yourself and you're so resentful over my old friends and new friends all of a sudden that you just don't have it in you to want to because you're so self-centered.
Okay. Do you know what I'm hearing? And I wonder if you've acknowledged this for yourself. I'm hearing a lot of anger.
Yeah, tons.
Okay.
I'm so angry.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
That's an emotion. I'm
Okay.
so angry. I'm so
Right.
hurt,
Is that the
betrayed.
pinnacle?
Yeah,
Do you think that's the top one? Okay. There's
anger
a good
is
point.
what's making me be so strict with my mum now after how she's recently behaved 3 weeks ago and 12 weeks ago. Two main factors, which all her behaviours and how my best friends behaved is why I am just not going to tolerate this anymore because I don't feel like I've dealt with it. I don't feel like I've addressed it. I've not had
Okay.
any understanding from anyone. I have had friends, but they aren't like you, or a psychotherapist viewpoint who can acknowledge, understand what's going on, and things that I don't even understand myself. They're not going to understand.
Okay. Let me ask you something. What is it that I'm going to say that's going to make this better, do you think?
For you to shed some clarity on, I wanted you to acknowledge how the narcissistic parent can not really change because I've already grieved my mum. I'm already numb to it.
Mm.
It's more so understanding how this has rolled into friendships and relationships at a younger age, but then it's kind of jumped into other areas where I am lacking because I've not had the knowledge and the upbringing that I should have had. So I've not succeeded in certain areas. I'm lacking in certain areas because I haven't had that support or that guidance. I'm not sure myself.
Okay. And that might be the problem, is that it seems like, from what you've been saying, you've talked about the fact that there's been no acknowledgement, there's no discussion. Your mother dismisses everything, sweeps it under the carpet, or pretends that she can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds a little bit like you might be in that tricky place a lot of us can get into, which is, I need them to admit it was real for me to believe it was real, or them to admit what they did for me to be allowed to say what they did.
Not with mum because
But
I
with the
totally
friends.
understand with the friends and so with the narcissist I understand that she's not going to understand. She'll think it's an attack due to her
Mm-hmm.
upbringing, but just to be able to have expressed certain things to her to help her understand my point of view to things that occurred with her and the other girl, and how I see her as a friend, and how this isn't an attack, and to have given her positive things about her, how I understand
Mm-hmm.
how her past has had a detrimental effect on her judgment towards things that I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't, because I'm different.
Mm-hmm.
But the other
Well,
friend knew exactly what
go
she
on.
was doing. They both did. But the other friend should know better, because she hasn't had that upbringing. She has a sense of entitlement because she's territorial with me. She's never had to feel this way about me ever. And this is
Right.
something new to her.
So what is it you need to hear from them to be able to validate yourself?
I need for them to just be able to give me the opportunity to sit with me and have a conversation, which I haven't been given.
You need to sit with them. Sorry, say it again. You need to be able to sit with them and have a conversation. And
To be
go on.
heard, to be
Okay.
understood, to have that back and forth discussion, as opposed to the narcissistic friend totally dismissing meeting up. So then no longer could there be a friendship. That I cannot continue this without addressing the things you've done in the past and the current things you've done and how you behaving. I can't continue a genuine friendship with you until we have this open conversation to resolve everything. The other best friend who I was closer with,
Mm-hmm.
who was linked to us, who wasn't having my back or even acknowledging what the other person was doing, has just hurt me so much by doing that. And then along other things that she's done, just trying to kind of, validate or minimize my feelings and my reasons, to not even want to go into them to address, but just presumptuous and assuming what the other person said about, oh, it's all about the past, that's the truth, so let's just dismiss it. Let's relate to you. That's what she said. That's not what a best friend does.
Okay, I'm going to ask a left field question, and it's going to be a bit left field, and you're going to be like, what?
Mm.
But if I ask you it, and then what I would love you to try and notice is what happens in your body and what your initial thoughts are in that moment, okay? What are you angry with about yourself for?
So I forgot to mention, I am the main focal point of the anger, which I'm holding in the emotion because I am emotional, but I
You
don't
don't
want
need
to
to hold
be,
it in. You're allowed to be.
is which I've relayed to my best friend from three, and my other best friends from before these two, that for 21 years, from being 18, that I've never actually had the connection or the friendship to the extent that I would have liked. But because due to the
Mm-hmm.
trauma from my mum, I was on a wagon wheel spiraling on survival mode all those years. So during this time, I was going out all the time with these girls, and I clung onto them like a crutch. Therefore, those other best friends, I chose the wrong friends. So the other best friends were discarded in a sense. One moved to
Mm-hmm.
Jersey at 18. Social media wasn't as apparent
Mm-hmm.
or relevant. I never once went to see her. We wasn't had not seen her at all until my mid-30s. My other best friends I kind of lost contact with, and the others I saw sporadically. We've all reconnected or are reconnecting soon, but I just feel so betrayed and so lost and annoyed at myself, that not annoyed at my mum, that
Mm-hmm.
she is the reason behind why I went through all that trauma and survival, to where it made my health really poorly and I crashed. And all these
Okay.
years building up,
Okay. What's happening for you right this minute? What are you feeling right now?
I'm emotional. I'm upset. I'm upset, but I'm holding it in.
Why are you holding it in?
I feel like I feel a grief
Okay. Why are you holding it in?
because I don't want to cry. I want to try and let you know everything.
Why don't you want to cry?
I just think I'm just holding it in. I don't know.
What is the
Holding it
fear?
in. I don't, if being, I don't know.
Go on, you had an answer there. You can say anything. We can take it out as well, remember? We don't have to include stuff you're not comfortable with.
No, it's fine. I can't get those memories back because they don't exist. They've all got husbands or kids, and we're a lot older.
Right.
And it's not like we've got the money now to be able to go on all these holidays because they've got children and they've got husbands or boyfriends and responsibilities, and it's just not like we were in our 20s. And I'm so passionate about friends and memories and loyalty, and I give it so much, and I have good
Mm.
friends, but I just think I look back in regret and just think, why?
Why what?
Why did I have to fixate so much on two people who have just turned their back on me and just not been loyal when I needed them?
Okay, and
And
there,
not being there for
that,
me when I would have been there for them, when my other friends would have.
okay, and this is the pain. When I asked you, why are you angry with yourself? This is it. Did you realize that when I asked you that question, you immediately deflected away from it? And I think it's because this is under here. This is under it. It's a lot easier to be angry than it is to be sad. Anger is powerful, it's protective, it gives us agency, it makes us move, it's motivational. And I was asking you to notice the pain.
So now I've got resentment towards my mum, resentment towards the two girls, sadness towards my other friends, sadness towards myself because I feel like I've been robbed of my life. 21 years I've been robbed. So there's 8 people in total that I was really close with, met before these two, and one of them's 80 now. Well, she's the oldest out of all of them, and she's not very well, and I've been seeing her, and I just feel so sad that she was like a mother figure that I always would have had, and I lost that due to the trauma from mum and going to these poor relationships, going to these friendships where, yeah, they were good friends,
Right.
but one was narcissistic. So when I had her back with this other friend who's involved in this discussion, she then turned, but she wasn't there for me on my 30th, and it was all about some other guy, and it's just priorities, and it's just a shame that I hadn't kept in touch with the other friends as well and split it. But I understand now that was because I was just so fixated on these two due to going out all the time, because my going out with them and the social circle we was in was all I knew, because I was so clouded by the trauma from mum. So I just wanted to just get away from her. And all the other friends, maybe they were in relationships or they wasn't into that scene. So I was
Okay.
so focused on that every weekend just to get away.
So it feels like this version of you feels like you've wasted all those years and all those friendships because you chose to engage in those two friendships. And now
Yeah,
they've ended and it's feeling like,
I feel like I've lost myself. I've totally lost my identity. I don't know who I am. I've gone into a dark depression. I can't trust new friends. I can't trust existing friends. I don't give back as much now to people because I'm mirroring what they give to me. And I also won't put myself too far forward for someone because I just don't want to get hurt and abandoned anymore. I'm scared of being abandoned. I'm scared of being rejected or doing anything where it could be deemed, well, I don't know, and I'll always have everyone's back and stand up for what's not correct. But it's just triggered an emotion with my mum to why I'm like this. Because
um, go on.
I was on a wagon wheel. I was traumatized. And as well, the narcissistic friend who was over, I did allow her to get away with so much over the years. more so from being 30, should I say. So it only started really with me. She was doing other stuff, but not directed at me as such, but only from when she let me down on my 30th and I raised it, she then started to do things. I think it's also the way that the way mum's behaved and does behave, where she goes around in
Right.
circles, word salad, she dismisses things. She's like a spiteful child, just wanting to attack. And she's the only person who has made me so frustrated and cry to the extent where I'm just losing my mind that I had to cut her off for 9 months years ago.
I'm going to ask you a question about, you've mentioned quite a few times that you, with the loss of these friendships, feel like you've lost yourself and your
Yeah.
identity, your sense of who you are. And it's interesting because every time you said it, I noticed a reaction in myself of a, just like a, confusion, right? Like just a like, And I thought I'd noticed it. And in my brain, I was like, well, what's that about? What am I confused about? And I thought, well, I think I'm noticing that my experience is that when people come into therapy with me or they join my hub membership platform for recovery, that the usual starting point is that there is no identity in the first place. There never was. If you're scared of rejection, of saying no, have no idea how to trust people, you're not alone, and you don't have to heal alone either. That's what the Hub is for. It's a membership community designed for survivors just like you. Every month, we dive into powerful courses, we hold live calls, and connect in a supportive, understanding space so you can break free from the past and build healthy, fulfilling relationships. Maybe it's time to stop surviving and instead start thriving. Visit jointhehub.ac today using the code POD20 to get £20 off your first month's membership. I can't wait to see you there. Take care. Bye. And as we've been going on, and every time you've said it, that has come in every time. And the thing that I wonder, and of course, if I say something, that doesn't land or doesn't fit, you are well within your rights to say, no, that's not it. I'm not going to get butthurt or what's the word, insulted or offended or anything. I really don't mind being wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong. It's totally cool. But what I'm wondering is, is there any chance that your identity was actually built on these friendships?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it also then true that because it was built on these friendships, you don't know who you are without them?
Yes, correct. Because now they were my family, so now I don't have any family anyway. There's nobody else.
But they're not just your family, in that they were also people that represented your identity.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's not just that they are or were your family, which I totally get, by the way. That's totally valid. But I noticed too that very often when we grow up with an abusive parent, we're so busy surviving, we don't get an opportunity to develop an identity. We develop coping mechanisms. We develop trauma responses and believe those are our identity. I've actually recorded a TikTok about that this morning, which you will probably see go out over the next few days. And what happens is we get so busy surviving, we don't develop the identity. Our identity becomes our trauma coping mechanisms. But of course, that's not actually us. That's just how we were surviving. And then what we tend to do is find external placeholders for our identity. So as a result, we use friends to represent bits of ourselves, or we use objects. So we might actually hold on to things that are, I'm looking around my office to try and find something to represent it. And I can't right now. But for example, if I was just to use my lipstick, for example, this lipstick has no particular meaning. But for example, say somebody gave this lipstick to me when I was 20 years old, and that person was really important to me then. And then this lipstick represents how much they cared about me because they gave it to me, and it's so special. And therefore, here is evidence of me being loved, but not just being loved, here's part of my identity too. I hold on to things, or I use external things as a way to hold my identity externally. We externalize the identity rather than internalize it. And I wonder, with me saying that, does that ring true for you or no?
It does, no.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I have maybe have always had a sense of being invisible, and being with my two best friends. We've we're always there for each other. You know, one of the other friends had always had similar trauma with her mum.
Right.
You know, and we had a connection in that regard, but you know, our upbringing was still different. I've turned out non-narcissistic. She has turned out narcissistic. The other one isn't narcissistic. So it's two different realms of friends.
Well, and then we go to why is this bringing up all this stuff? And again, I wonder how familiar the behaviour is towards, in terms of your mother's behaviour. You've told me already things that they were doing that's very similar, right?
Correct, yeah. So the narcissistic friend, you know, not wanting to discuss it.
Right. Yes, exactly.
If it was discussed, let's minimise it. Let's do, what's the word?
Well, dismiss it.
Oh, well, you know, what's with mother? Oh, you did this when you was 15, or did this when you was 18. You mother referring to something from when I was 15.
Is a way to silence you, because it doesn't mean that you, because then but you did this when you were 12, so I'm allowed to do whatever I like to you now.
Yeah, or let's refer to something that you did at 18, but we're talking about something from 15, which has bears no relevance to that.
Right.
You know, or the friend, for example, would deflect, you know, come back with an attack. I don't know what the terminologies are, but she'd come back with an attack. Oh, let's say this, or she'd try to make excuses or denial, shouting, raising a voice, whereas the other friend, who's non-narcissistic, would just be on the defence and not understand. And I thought, on a 10 p.m. phone call after your 12-hour shift, if that's all I'm worth, try to see you in person, I'll come to see you. Yet she's gone out with this other girl, the other person, and a sister, and posting pictures on the Wednesday when you could have seen me on that Wednesday. And I thought, I've tried and tried to express as much as I could, all on text message, because she just kept refraining from wanting to meet, and I just got so sick of it. And I've tried to get as much of my point across nicely, professionally, you know, no attack, and it's just not the same as in person. But I just feel like what you've done, how you've behaved along the way, has indicated to me just what I'm up against, and just how you value me as a friend. So her behaviour during this process for both of them has given me an indicator to actually, I know my worth, and I don't want to have to feel this way anymore. But then it's the acceptance of the loss of the other friendships of all this time, which I can continue, but it's never going to be the same as losing 21 years of memories that don't exist. How do I move on with no family, no children? I'm not in a relationship through choice due to trauma from a narcissistic relationship. I probably am just not well enough to be in a relationship. My health's crashed. My homeopath and, you know, private doctor has said, you know, it's funny how when the narcissistic relationship with a man, not the friend, ended, my health, my hypothyroidism went worse, and all my symptoms impacted me more, and I crashed. And then it's significantly got worse because of all the other bits of trauma that have continued. And then when this happened in 2023 December, so all through 2024, I was really poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Still am, but not as bad, but I'm still not well enough. And only by seeing one of my friends who hasn't got any mental health or hasn't got any neurodiversity, I've realised that I'm just really not myself. And my sleep's affected, my nightmares,
Mm-hmm.
the trauma, staying up at night crying because I just can't sleep, or trying to segment it all in my head.
Okay. I'm going to ask you another question, which is going to sound left field, but there's intention and purpose. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know, when I ask you to describe yourself to me, who you are, what your values, your beliefs, who you are outside of these friendships as a standalone, tell me who Evie is. What do you say?
How I see myself, who I am.
Yeah, how would
So,
you describe yourself to me?
so I'm a very passionate, honest, loyal person. I'm a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
All my
Okay.
friendships, all my friendships are real, not non-surface.
Mm-hmm.
Compassionate, communicative, open, honest. I see myself as lost, abandoned, misunderstood
Okay.
misunderstood probably due to how my life is, due to not having
Mm-hmm.
anyone guiding me. So I just feel like I'm a failure to an
Mm-hmm.
extent, not as a person, but a failure
Mm-hmm.
regarding, well, as a person, as a whole, person, career, my successes. I could have excelled a lot more if I'd had the guidance. So I'm annoyed as well with to how my life is.
Okay. Come back onto point. Describing
Yeah.
yourself. Who you are. What do you like?
What with friends?
No, yourself. What is it you are? What are your values? What would you tell me were the most important values to you?
Oh right, okay. With people, that people are honest, open,
Okay.
loyal, effort made,
Okay.
oh, integrity, morals,
Okay.
care, compassion, consideration, empathy. You
Is
have
this
to give
in
each
other
other
people or
space.
for you?
Me. So I've got
Okay.
compassion, I care, I've got empathy, I give people
Mm-hmm.
space. I'm not a codependent. I know my worth. I
Mm-hmm.
instill boundaries. I speak my truth. I'm on my healing
Okay.
journey. I'm doing everything that I
Okay.
can to learn as much as I can and to be around people. So I associate myself around people who are into things that I'm into, who have the same belief system that I do, that aren't toxic, aren't negative. You know, a lot of my friends are neurodivergent
Mm-hmm.
and got mental health, or are developmentally delayed. So, they've been a great support system, which have been, a massive pal group that I've had since 2020, and that it progressed
Mm-hmm.
along the years. They aren't as spiritually connected as other friends that I have. I've got
Mm-hmm.
all different friends that other friends
I'm
that
going
I'm
to bring you
closer
back onto
to.
point. Bring you back to
Hmm.
point. We're describing you, not them.
Oh, sorry. So
No, you're
I'm,
good. It's okay.
yeah,
Just notice how you drift into that. Like you drift
yeah.
away from yourself. This is the thing that I want to show you.
I'm
Is
caring.
that
I'm into my music. I like to, self-express through dance, spiritual
mm-hmm,
dance.
mm-hmm.
I like my psychedelics for the purpose
Okay,
of,
cool.
looking deeper. So
Mm-hmm.
microdosing things to not use for recreational use, but to use for delving into the mind. So I enjoy all of
Okay.
the self-discovery and identifying who I am. But I
Okay.
understand who I am. I know who I am. It's
But you
just,
seem to connect it to others. So if I say to you,
yeah.
if you ask me the same question to describe yourself to me, or yeah, but the other way around, you know what I mean. If you ask me to describe myself to you, that's what I'm trying to say, I would respond with honest, compassionate, empathetic, understanding. I'm a wannabe adventurer, but I'm a little bit scared of that too. I would tell you I believe strongly in justice, and I believe strongly in equity. I don't actually believe in equality, not on the grounds that I don't think everybody should have the same thing, but that equality doesn't exist because we all start from a different space. So equity is the thing. So people, for example, you mentioned that you were adopted, like you've started from a different place that I have, but you should have whatever you need to be able to start from the same place as I do, right? So equity rather than equality. And I think anyway, I could get very philosophical about that, but I just don't want people to misunderstand. I'm not saying I believe that we should have social segregation. What I mean is that we should all be given the opportunity to have the same advantage in life, right? Or the same starting point. I would say I'm intelligent, curious. I would say that I want and offer direct communication, that I dislike people pleasing, that I find dishonesty a difficulty, but I understand there are times where somebody makes a choice for what they think is the greater good, but if they own it, so accountability is a really important value to me. That I am funny, that I'm fun, that I'm a little bit weird, and that I see jokes that other people don't see, and then when I say them, people are like, what? And I go, yeah, it was in my head, it was funny, and I'm okay with that. I like to have charge of my space, but I don't need control of other people. That I feel very comfortable with being rejected and don't see it as a rejection of me. I see it as a not meeting that person and whatever their needs are, but that does not equate my value. I am somebody that will always fight to give voice to those that do not have voices. And I like board games. I think everybody knows that about me, that I love a board game and I love a puzzle. So anything that makes my brain work, that I get lost for days in a thing that I probably should not be looking at because it's distracting me from things that I should be doing, that I actually don't believe in the word should. Can you hear that virtually everything that I use to describe myself is different to how you did? And can you see that? And do you know what the difference is?
No, I can see
And
the
you can
difference.
disagree with me. You can
No, I
disagree,
can.
obviously. You can say no. You can.
No,
What do
it's
you think
totally
the
different
difference
to
might
how
be?
you. I'm probably connected. I'm linking, or what's the word? Associating my identity or who I am to things and people, as opposed to, I don't know,
Yes.
how you describe, should I say?
Right. Well, shall I just finish that for you? Whether I have certain people in my life or not, I stay the same. I don't lose my identity because I lose the friend. I lose the friend and I grieve that, that's true. But I don't, and there might be hurt and betrayal and all the things and realizations and things that you didn't see that you then see. And all that might be true, right? But I don't lose me, right? I don't lose myself. And were I to have lost myself, I would query what relationships I had been in that had eroded that and where I had allowed that to happen. Okay, not in a victim blaming, it's my fault way. But the anger that you're expressing, the anger that you are using, I think, as a shield from the depth of the emotion, seems more directed at yourself than it is at them. But on the flip side, you want them to validate that you're right to have the anger for you to be allowed to have it?
At the time, say that again. I want them to validate my anger, so as I feel
In
like
order for
I'm to
you've given
be able to.
permission to have it. Mm.
At the time, most probably, but also it was more to have the discussion, and I was denied that, which caused more. Is the word
And what were
trauma
you
or?
looking to? Well, it hurt. Trauma, whatever you want. But my query around that would be, what were you hoping to gain from that discussion? What would it have changed for you?
Help me express all my emotions, my feelings, to have had
Go on, sorry.
express all my emotions and feelings, to be able to have clarity, to have an understanding, them have an understanding of my viewpoint, and to have just a back and forth discussion, which I wasn't even given, which is such an
Okay, but
insult.
why?
Why
What
is it
is
an
it that,
insult?
why is it important for you to have it?
Because I want to be able to express my emotions and my feelings, and to have an open conversation, to be able to resolve it.
So you were looking for resolution.
Yeah.
You sure? You didn't look very sure when I said that. You looked a bit.
No, I'm just trying to honestly, I'm trying to process it. Yeah, of course,
Okay.
because that's what I wrote in my message, and with both of them, with the closest one, I wanted to have an open discussion, to express everything, to go into, and I'm annoyed at
Mm.
myself for only realizing what she was doing until other things occurred and until I assessed it. And I just wish that I believe if I had approached it, she would have still dismissed it, denied it, and acted aloof and made it all blasé. And I don't think I would have probably got anywhere with it. And I think
Right.
this all occurring has helped me see this. And with the other
Go
friend,
on.
because she is narcissistic, I understand how she would have acted, but that's why she doesn't want to have facts. All I have are facts. She didn't want to come face to face and have me express everything, because she doesn't want to face what she's done. So that's, like you said,
Okay.
that's her problem. And
Right. Go on. No, go on. What happened there?
and you are right. I do know who I am now, and I don't need someone's acknowledgement anymore. I don't need someone's understanding or discussion, because it's gone so far that I've
Mm-hmm.
already got my answers. But it's just understanding what to do next. How do I process this? How do I go into relationships with other people, be it work or friendships or love relationships, knowing what I know, feeling the way I do?
And what is it that you know?
That people can get jealous, territorial, they don't treat you how you would treat
Mm-hmm.
them, even though they
Okay.
appreciate and verbalise how you've been loyal to them and how you're their bestest friend out of anyone. That actually it's not reciprocated. It may not be reciprocated. Don't have any expectations. Mirror people how they are with you. Don't expect them to treat you how you treat them until they display and demonstrate this. Don't allow someone's lack of attention, not attention, lack of compassion regarding mum or friend when something
Mm-hmm.
happens, lack of care, acknowledgement, lack of empathy, and lack of accountability to occur just because you would be accountable and admit to things if you've done something and apologise and always want criticism or welcome it, does not mean that anybody else in any realm of work, love, relationship, friendship, that's it really that I've got in my life, would adhere to that. You just can't expect anything from people just because they say they are like that or they demonstrate that's how they are, does not mean that they will treat you with that way at any given time.
Okay. I'm noticing the anger again. What is the anger telling you right now? No, it's all right. It's not, anger's fine.
That I just feel I've got a defense, a barrier.
Yeah, what is it? Okay, and what is that barrier protecting you from?
Being hurt again and being disappointed and being let down and betrayed.
Okay. And then
Or
there's a
being
thing that happens. I'm gonna butt in now, and I'm gonna say there is a thing that happens. And again, I talk about this on the hub all the time. There's a whole course on this because this is fundamental to recovery. And I mean literally at the root. Two things: identity and trust. And trust is not of other people, it's of self. Okay? The big mistake that we can fall into is that we believe that we have to be able to trust other people to be able to move on and to show that we're healed and that we are, able to be in these relationships and we can accept people as they are, warts and all. And yet it's nothing to do with trusting other people. Let me ask you a question again. When I asked you earlier, who, or rather, are you angry with yourself? And if so, why?
because I've made choices that actually I would not have made if Mother hadn't been the way she was, if things hadn't have occurred due to her, then I would have
May I change the
been
language a little bit?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have made the choices you've made if you had the knowledge you have now.
Yes.
Right? Which, again, sounds a little bit like you're being really unfair on your younger self, who didn't have what you have now in terms of knowledge. And again, very common, we all do it. At some point, we all go, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I went out with that person, or I was friends with that person. I can't believe I didn't see this behavior. We all do it. But all that does is judge our younger self with our current self's eyes and knowledge and experience and awareness. And that is not fair because we sit here now because of what they went through, our younger self, right? It's not fair on our younger selves to hold them to the standard and the knowledge that we have now. It's just punishing them for not knowing what they didn't know. And none of us deserve that in this recovery. And the other part is that when you talk about people betraying you, letting you down, and all these things, when you think back to these two relationships specifically, and any relationship that has become difficult or you've realized is toxic eventually, when you look back and you're angry with them, very often that anger is misplaced, and we are, yes, and it's valid, mind you, by the way, just to say you're allowed to be angry with the way somebody's behaved towards you. But what we often do in that anger is ignore our part. And people get very upset when I start talking about this because they say I'm victim blaming and I'm, shaming. And that is absolutely not what I'm doing. What I'm actually trying to do is empower through education. When we look back at those relationships, and you've talked about being loyal, having backs and being there and supportive and compassion and understanding, and they won't even give you a conversation. And that's a kind of, I've given you so much and you don't give me the basic thing, right? And that grief that you're feeling and the resentment that we feel is because the disparity and the lack of reciprocity that we ignore to maintain the relationships. And we are angry at ourselves for maintaining and tolerating and even encouraging perhaps the disparity, the lack of reciprocity, because it kept us safe in those relationships. We learned as very young people that to stay safe, we have to give, and we don't conflict, and we don't speak up, and we don't challenge, and we don't walk away. And that anger is possibly, in part, directed at yourself for that not knowing, but also maybe not acknowledging where maybe you could have said, actually, this isn't working. These relationships are not good for me. I'm giving and giving and giving, and I'm actually not getting.
10 years I allowed it to continue with the narcissistic friend, correct? You are right. Yes, that's a major. I should have ended it 10 years ago. Yeah.
Right.
However, but the best friend, we have never, ever, ever in 21 years had any run-in or bad word ever.
And that is a red flag. No, that's a red flag.
But she's
Think about it.
But we're both very good people.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you don't have conflict. 21 years and you've never had any bad words. No. If I see a couple, because obviously I do couples therapy as well, if a couple comes to me and says, we never argue, I'm immediately, alarm bells ringing, something's not right. You do not do 21 years of friendship and not have a crossword. There will be you've pissed me off because I'm tired. I'm tired and snappy, and oh my God, you snapped at me. Or you took the last biscuit and I wanted it. Or I don't know, I don't want to go to that restaurant, I want to go to this one. We always go to the one you want. 21 years? Well, one of you was capitulating constantly.
Well, no,
or both of you were.
Well, maybe, well, no, actually, maybe I've just held back because, well, yeah, possibly because the other friend did, the narcissistic friend did highlight, as soon as she meets a lad, her exact words, you just don't see her. Mm-hmm. So I've just probably accepted that when she does meet a lad, that she just goes off the radar. You don't hear from her. And it just become, I've just accepted it because I loved her.
What does that tell you? If she disappears the second there is a love interest, what does that tell you about her relational pattern, shall we say?
I don't know what that means, but her priorities are more him.
Sorry, I shall explain. Shall I explain what the relational pattern is?
Yes, yeah.
How you behave in relationship to everyone. So, for example, somebody who is codependent will behave in a certain way. We just reenact the same behaviour over and over and over again in all the relationships until we become aware and change it. Right?
No, I understand. Sorry, I do understand what that means.
Okay.
So she just prioritises someone new who numerous amount of men. That's not correct. Numerous men. 4 have betrayed her and hurt her, and I just think there's a pattern. She's in a narcissistic relationship now, and he's done things. He's tried to push his sister out. He's already tried to push me away, and he's tried to do it with the dad and with the sister. I've had conversations with the dad in depth, and he's fully aware of what he is, but he's supportive because he doesn't want to lose his daughter. He's done it to his sister. So I just think she maybe has some sort of insecurity where she just has to be all about the man. And then I think, well, what?
There's a word for that. There is a word for that. She drops everything for the attachment to a man, a love interest.
A man. Only.
Okay.
I've always been there. I've always been, and when it crashes, she says, I just want my dolly. And she comes to me, and when they have a run-in, it's essay after essay telling me, wanting to see me. I'm there all the time, but then it's like she's not even a pen pal when a man is on the scene.
Okay, so then what's your part in this cycle? Let's look at your part.
I'm just here when it suits. I'm just convenience, and that's what I said.
So what's your part? What do you need to take responsibility for in that cycle?
Oh, then? My part in this. I've allowed her to use me to an extent to be convenient. So I've played a part in this because I haven't acknowledged this Well, I have
Hang on,
acknowledged it,
I'm going to
actually. We have
pause
had...
you. I'm going to pause you. I'm going to pause you and take you back. Not take her out of it. What do you do in your behaviour in that cycle? Take it away from her, allowing her to use you, and keep it centred on your behaviour. And I can help you. Obviously, this is not a trick question. It's just the point is to move it away from other people and into yourself for accountability.
So I've allowed myself to be okay with something that I'm not okay with, and I haven't
You didn't
raised
speak
it.
up.
Yes.
Right. So your part in that cycle is that she would have dropped you and come back to you, but your part was that you would not pull her up and say, every time you get a new partner, you drop me, and then you expect me to just be sitting here waiting for you when you come back.
I have recently said it. So very, very recently, before it all, all the things started to be discussed. But prior, no.
Right. And when I even said it there, I focused on her behaviour. Your part, my part, is that I let this person leave me and come back whenever they decide. And I allow them to treat me as an option.
Yes. And just fit me in between.
Right.
Yeah. Me, you and your sister go to watch something, have a special day. Me and her sister got dressed up for it, like specific colours and things. And she couldn't even make the effort. She was falling asleep. The boyfriend had kept her up the night before and kept her out late because he's been doing things that...
Hang on, stop focusing on their behaviour. Look, this is your default, you see. You keep focusing on other people's behaviour. And I get it. Listen, there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm not trying to shame you, but the healing that you're looking for does not rely in other people admitting, A, what they've done, giving you validity over to feel the way you feel over what they've done, and validating your trauma, right? They have done what they've done. You know the truth of what's been done, but the healing comes. And what I was saying about the trust is that the healing comes from trusting yourself, so that were someone to treat you like an option again, you would call it out and not tolerate it, and then leave the relationship if it were to continue, right?
Yes.
Now, I say that as somebody who has chronic ADHD and terrible emotional impermanence, right? So my poor lovely friends will just stop existing completely. And it's nothing personal. There's nothing personal at all. But they all know it. And they also know that they're allowed to tell me I've been a dick because I've not responded or not engaged or I've taken too much, right? They all know that if they say to me, hey, you've hurt me because you've just gone silent and underground again, that I'm going to go, I am so sorry, you're right. And then I will make an accommodation, like I will for myself, I mean, not for them, as in I will put something in my diary. Have you called so-and-so? Have you texted so-and-so? Because that's mine to manage, right? It's not theirs to manage. They don't have to tolerate it just because I have a thing, right? That's up to me because those relationships are important. The point is that the trust comes from knowing yourself, knowing that you will walk away from relationships that are harming you, which is what you did not do for the last 20 odd years. Right?
Well,
with multiple people. Fair?
Mother, yes. From 30 to 40, yes, with the narc friend. I can't really...
What about the ex?
Maybe it's... Oh, gosh. Oh, my goodness me. Yes. Right. Okay. So for the two relationships, one was 2.5 years. I was younger, 18 and a half to 21. And he eventually did walk away and just cut total contact. But then the other one, I was a lot older. I was 24. And that continued for 5.5 years. And that was massively damaging. Massively.
First of all, 24 is not that
damaged.
old. Be Be kind to yourself
I was
in that.
more of an adult. I know, yeah, I was quite, again, developmentally delayed, and I wasn't aware of my autism or my ADHD. I had
Right.
no clue.
Right.
Wasn't aware of what my mum was doing. She was still doing it. I'd been
Didn't
through
know
a
how
lot of,
traumatized you were. Didn't know that
God,
it was
no.
not normal to be like this in relationships. To you, right? So here we are again, not judging you with today's eyes. 24-year-old you was young and naive and traumatized and not
Yeah.
aware they were, right? I'm
Mhm.
going to go back to your initial request from this space and time because we're coming to the end.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
you asked me about help understanding the connection between the betrayal of the friends and the flashbacks. And I don't know if you feel like you've got an answer. So, but I kind of have been answering it all the way through. So I'm intrigued to know whether or not you recognize that. What is it that you think the connection might be? Why do you think that the betrayal of the friend has raised all this awareness, the flashbacks, the nightmares, all the feelings? What is it that has triggered those things?
Well, that's how I look at it. I've lost that crutch. That's how I've described it when I wrote it down. I've lost the crutch. I've lost that best friend, the person who I felt the most myself around. And we'd had all those years of being best friends, all three of us, even though one kind of crumbled 10 years ago when we just held on. I held on, should I say. But my other best friend of all that time, I've just losing her, even though she wasn't really considering me for a long time as much. For it to just, it's as though they've died. It's like you're grieving somebody who's alive. You're grieving the sadness, the loss, the betrayal, the grief, the disappointment, the shock, the lack of care, the lack of willingness. So I feel as though it's connected to my mum, my mother, and the narcissistic abuse, because again, it's similar traits, maybe, I don't know, similar behaviours. So their response behaviours have triggered a trauma response in me that's been suppressed by mother. And by learning I'm autistic in my 30s, it's raised an understanding of, actually, I shouldn't feel guilty or feel sad or bad for how I've struggled. How dare I be scolded? How dare she have scolded me? And I've not been given the compassion or the understanding from a parent. Dad was fine, but I would expect different from my friends, considering they know what mum's like, considering she hadn't had any narcissistic parents and had quite a privileged upbringing.
You are furious with her.
Yeah. Can you tell?
I can. There's contempt. I see contempt.
What does
towards
contempt
her.
mean? I saw this on one of your videos and I thought, oh, I must Google that.
Contempt means just like disgust, scorn, repulsion, like gross.
Yes.
Who are you?
Yes, so much contempt, disdain. Yeah, disgust, so much. Now I've just got so much disgust that I'm totally I don't like her anymore.
Right. And then
because I can see what she's currently doing, which makes me even more clarifies and gives me more consolidation. Is that the word? Consolidation? That's not the right word, is it? Is that
clarity,
the right word? No.
Clarity.
Confirmation. Confirmation, that's the word. Gives me more confirmation as to how it would have been if we were still friends. You just want to work every hour God sends, both of you, and then go on holidays. And then that's all. That's your life is just all about the person you're in a relationship with. What if that relationship crumbled? What if something happened? What friends would you have?
Right.
You don't talk to the other narcissistic person because she wasn't a friend.
Hang on. I'm going to reel you back because the anger's coming up again. Yeah, right. But again, I feel like the anger might actually be to yourself. You're angry
No, it
because
is.
she's rejected you. You're angry because she made you an option. You were giving so much into that relationship and you were getting nothing back, and you did not see it, or you tolerated it. Now, what I want to notice to you, the reason to answer your question as to why this situation may have triggered all these things, and I'm hypothesizing, and of course you need to be the one that knows whether or not this is true. But it is logical and common for an event that is similar to another event to trigger a memory of the other event. So, for example, if you were bitten on the leg by a dog when you're 3 years old, but you forget about it, when you're 30 years old, you get bitten in the same place by a dog, you may well suddenly remember that 3-year-old experience, right? Because the similarity between the two triggers, your brain goes, this is familiar, don't let this happen again. This is familiar, danger, 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 danger. Right?
But even though best friend didn't want to acknowledge it or have my back and be loyal, and dismissed and minimised it, well, I suppose mum did dismiss and minimise.
I was about to say, did you not just tell you mum didn't want to talk about it? Mum didn't want to discuss it. She pretended to forget. Like, all of these things seem, and it seems like maybe the anger is potentially part of that you may well have been in relationship, best friends with somebody who is not dissimilar to your mother. And there is a self-contempt in that even. Like, how could I not have seen that perhaps she was just like my mother was?
That's because I was so poorly, maybe, so not like I am now, that's not that I've allowed it, I've just not recognised it. And
right, and that's the thing. But now you have seen it, right? And now I'm showing it to you, and now you have choice. Do you give them the power over your healing, your progression, your growth, because you can't do it until they've acknowledged it? Why do they get to decide that for you? That's not cool in any way, shape, or form, right? That's just giving them all the power. No. Why would you need it?
The best friend who's non-narcissistic, I feel as though that opportunity, that need is now no longer a need as much. Whereas the other friend who was narcissistic, I feel as though there is kind of some need to have that discussion because of her own faults within herself, because I understand her more.
Why?
But she doesn't
What will you gain? Right. What will it cost you? What will you gain? Will it change the outcome?
For her to understand.
She's not going to. She doesn't want to. If she wanted to, she'd have already apologised. She'd already have had the conversation.
Just for her to see my point of view, to see how I saw her. I don't think she sees how I fully see her. And
she doesn't care.
No. Well.
Why? Do you see that you give her all this power? I need her to understand this. Why? What difference will it make?
2 years later, she's now opened up all social media to me and unblocked me. Now as they're not talking. And I just think she's just so damaged. Her friends have said to me that she needs professional help.
Why do you want to keep her in your life?
It's not, I think it's not to keep her in my life, but just to have that closure.
But why does she get power over your closure? The closure's already happened. The relationship's ended.
I know.
What I wonder for you is, and I know I'm being quite hard, but there is intent, there's reason, because to hear this, it does need to be delivered firmly. But what I wonder is that were you able to convince her, maybe you would be able to convince your mother. And there's something that about being able to heal some of the mum stuff in her acceptance of how she's hurt you. And I mean, the narcissistic friend, not your mother.
Possibly, maybe that's a subconscious thing. Because with my mum, I don't care now. I have no care. I don't have any care but with these two people, I still have an inch of care. because I want to be understood. I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't want to have my side of things that they're misinterpreting to be deemed as XYZ when it's not. Like, I want to get my point
Okay, but
across.
here's the thing.
That's it.
This is the thing. That is such an energy to spend on people who are determined to misunderstand you. There are people in the world who are going to walk around needing you to be seen in that particular light for their own self-preservation. And this is going to sound really difficult because I know how hard this is to assimilate and to incorporate into your way of existence. But who gives a fuck? Right? In the nicest possible way.
They're not deserving.
But they're walking around thinking of you in a way so that they can sleep at night. Why do you need to convince them differently? All you're doing then is giving them power over you. So there are people in this world who walk around blaming me for their misfortunes. I have literally nothing to do with. But
I have to read you something really quickly. It's such a short picture.
Okay.
Just to highlight what you've said. Just because I understand your trauma doesn't mean I'll tolerate your behaviour.
Right.
Empathy isn't a free pass for cruelty. You don't get to use pain as a reason to cause more of it. And healing doesn't mean accepting mistreatment in the name of understanding.
Right. Exactly.
See? You've just said that. You've just told me that.
Right. Right. That's just it. So my invitation to you as we wrap up is going to be trying to move your focus away from their behaviour and onto your own. Know that when you're sitting looking angry at them and feeling angry with them, or focusing on or ruminating even about what they've done and what they've said and haven't said and what they didn't give and all those things, very often we're avoiding our own stuff. When we are super focused on the external, we're trying to avoid the internal. And so the invitation is to, when you notice yourself doing that, ask yourself, what am I avoiding about my own part in the scenario? Why do I need these people who show me no care to validate my trauma? Right?
Not anymore.
And then on top of that, I'm going to invite you to go and actively do identity building exercises and really learn what your values, your beliefs, the truth of who you are. Because when you know that about yourself, other people's thought of you, their miscomprehension, their misunderstanding doesn't affect you. You know, I live a life that is quite online in terms of social media. I get comments all the time about me, my personality, and my relationship with Paul, who I do the true crime channel with.
Oh, you have to watch it. It's amazing. I watched it. It's so good.
But we get comments all the time about our relationship, and they could not be more wrong, right? The point being, because I know myself, because I know who I am in that relationship, particularly because I know my tenets, my morals, my compass, my intention and my motivation. When someone sits there saying either I'm toxic or this or that or the other, you know, I did the thing on Gabor Mate and everyone said I was trying for clickbait, and it's like, no, I genuinely believe this. But if you need to call it clickbait because it makes you feel better about maintaining the things that he says, crack on. I don't care, because you don't know me. I know me, and I do not need your opinion to destroy my self-perception. And that is what I'm asking you to get to by building your identity and by looking at how you were in those relationships where you compromised yourself so that you can understand where you said yes when you should have said no, when you tolerated things that you shouldn't have tolerated, and where you should have walked away, so that you can trust yourself to do so in relationships in the future. So, Evie, with that being said, is there anything else that you needed to ask me or find out from me before we finish?
Just quickly say, hating me is so valid. I probably held you accountable for your vile behaviour, which discredits your entire narrative. Had to tell you that.
Okay, but even then, even in that, I'm still focused on somebody else and their behaviour. Why?
Well, no, I need to start to learn to
It's hard.
internalise it.
Yeah, and it is hard. It's taken me a long time to get to this place. Do not think for a second
No, but
that
I
I'm sitting there
understand it
going,
has.
do this overnight, right? Do this
No,
overnight.
yeah.
It'll be fine. Just say no. I'm not doing that for a second. It takes a long time and a lot of practice and a lot of self-awareness and honesty and brutal honesty and acceptance of your not knowing and where you've been a doormat, maybe, is the term I've used for myself. And
disrespected.
Right? But where I have allowed the disrespect to exist and where I will not anymore. And the reason the disrespect existed was because I allowed it. Right?
It's true.
Because
no, it is.
This version of me would never tolerate that behaviour. Ever.
I allowed it with one, exactly, never tolerate it now, ever. I'm a totally different person. With the narc friend, I should have addressed it, walked away. Yeah, not tolerated. With the non-narc friend, I should have addressed it a little bit sooner than later. So yes,
right.
Lots of internalising.
And so the learning is that accepting certain behaviours allows people to continue certain behaviours. Okay? So, on that note, I wanted to say thank you so much for coming and exploring and going down all these little rabbit holes. And how do you feel right now?
I'm just looking forward to continuing listening to your Audible book.
Okay,
I started
great.
it yesterday, so I've got another 6 hours left. But yeah,
bless
I'm
you.
just looking forward to your book to hyperfix and continue the advice and the knowledge from you. So I feel a lot better.
There is something I want. Good. Sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry. You feel a lot better?
No, it's fine. I am ADHD. Forgot what I said already. I don't know what I was saying. Oh, I feel a lot better.
I was asking how you feel. You said you feel a lot better. And there was something I have meant to say through the whole podcast and I keep forgetting. And
Me too.
The thing is that autistic people are much more likely to experience emotional abuse than other people, simply on the grounds of not being able to read the subtext beyond motivation and taking things at face value. So not necessarily seeing that certain behaviours have other context and intention attached to them. But on top of that, the conditioning that happens to autistic people around not being autistic and pretending to be neurotypical so that they make everybody else feel more comfortable because their brain is more honest and different, means that they silence themselves, right? But it means that you silence yourself. You don't speak up when you're uncomfortable because you've been told over and over again, don't do that, it makes other people uncomfortable. And so therefore, you are put much more at risk from emotional abuse and relationships that are exploitative simply on the grounds of being autistic and the conditioning as well as the wiring that you experience. So it might also be really good to start looking at where you squashed yourself because you thought it was an autistic thing, or you've been told you're not allowed to do that, or call someone out for something because you've been told that's rude. Okay?
Being dismissed. But I do want to say, Helen, as well, out of all the psychotherapists I've studied online, you are my favourite, but not just because of how you are within your profession, but as a person, your empathy, your care. You're a little bit geeky, especially
I'm very geeky.
Especially it comes through more on the other thing,
the true crime,
crime thing.
Yeah.
But you're very personable and fun. Fun is one of you're enjoyable to watch. So I relate to you, and because you do specialise in ADHD, autism and ADHD and narcissistic abuse and other things, it all linked together for me, and I'm so glad that I've seen you today. Thank you.
Well, I am too. Thank you so much, Evie, for coming, and thank you for saying that. That's really kind of you. And I'm sitting with my own process of trying to accept compliments and like trying to be like brave.
With your crown.
Like, oh, thank you. Yeah, with my crown. That's a true crime comment.
True crime
Thank you
crown.
so much. Yeah, true crime crown. Brilliant. Evie, thank you so much. And everybody listening, thank you so much too. And I guess, as ever, all that remains to be said is take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.